Hey guys, what's up? Bisectatron here from Clash of Clans Manual, and in this video we have a little jump spell playground here, and we're going to show you guys how exactly the jump spell works, because I guarantee there's a few things within this that you did not know, no matter how much you think you know the jump spell, because it is a very complicated spell, probably the most difficult one to drop correctly. So in this Clash 101 video, we're looking at how you use the jump spell. So, we're going to start with the basic stuff. And looking at the top over here, we have a couple different sets of walls. And at the top, you can obviously fit troops over both these walls. And when you use jump spells, you typically want to get them over two sets of walls. If it's just one, you can usually use wall breakers unless it's in the core of the base or something. So you can jump spell, by the way, lasts 5 tiles, and to put that in perspective, I'll do it right here. That is the radius of or the diameter of a jump spell, so that's how far it is across. And that makes it very easy to just slip one right in here. If you're dropping it on a 3x3 and you're wondering where to drop it, to be precise, you're typically going to want to drop it right on in between the first and second tiles within the first wall. So right along here, on that little line right there. So error a little bit on the side of your troops. I'll explain that in just a minute. When there's what is this, 4 tiles separating, you can still do the jump spell, but you got to be a little bit more precise. For this one, you can slip it right over that wall and have it extend to right about this wall. So once again, a little bit towards the outside. Your troops are over here, obviously. And then where you want to drop it is right on the second tile in. So the first one, we're dropping it in between the first and second tiles. This one, we're dropping it exactly on that second tile, right like that. So as you can see, a little bit farther back. And then I would never recommend doing this, but it is, I think, possible if you do it right to actually get over 5 tiles between walls. I don't know if I've seen it done before. I think it's very difficult. You'd have to thread it very, very slimly, and then it wouldn't quite reach that next wall, but the effect of the jump might get them over. And I guess if you're going to try to do that, I would recommend trying to put it right in between the second and third tiles like that. But very difficult stuff to do. And the reason I say you want to err on the side of your troops, meaning that you want it to extend farther to the side of your troops than to the back end, is because the jump spell is like a rage spell. So if you watch a replay with a rage spell, the rage spell, even after the troops leave the rage spell, they have the effect of it for a second or so. And same thing goes for the jump. So troops will have the jump ability even after they leave the spell. However, they have to first get into the spell. So if you have a wall right here, like right here, and it doesn't extend past the wall, you can see in this one it does, but if it didn't, if it just landed on the wall, the troops would be punching on the wall. They wouldn't be able to get over the wall because it has to extend at least about 3/4 of a tile out from the wall for the troops to enter it and then be able to hop over it. Hope that makes sense. Okay, next thing we're going to is something that you got to be aware of. Let's say the king is standing in this compartment. I know he'd wander off if this was a real battle, but let's say he's standing inside that compartment with the king pad. If your troop is right where the air trap is right there, and you drop a jump like that, it's a good way to drop your jump. Here's the thing though. Let's say you have like, I don't know, Valks, and your Valks go in here then into the king area. Be aware they won't necessarily be able to go back in here and up to the town hall unless the jump spell extends into there. So they could go into this area, lose the jump ability, and if the jump spell doesn't actually extend into there, it can almost be a one-way thing, because in this compartment right here, they have the jump ability, but once they use it and leave into there, they lose the ability, and they're no longer inside the jump spell, so they can't get back over this wall. So it can be a one-way spell in a way if it just extends to the wall but not over it. So be aware of that. Alright, next thing we're looking at is a pretty interesting phenomenon within the jump spell. So here we have a 4 gap, which is probably the farthest I would recommend trying to hop your troops over 2 sets of walls. But it can be done. So if you drop your jump right like that, you should be able to get your troops going through. But here's the thing. We'll use Valks again as an example. If they run over to this archer pad right here, and one group of them is still in here, the group on the left will use red for this group, the red group of Valks, and the blue group of Valks. Now, the red group will not be able to go back and use this jump spell. Actually, let me redraw the jump. One sec. Let's say the jump doesn't extend all the way, so it's just barely, it's able to get the troops in as long as they're in the spell radius, but that's it. So once again, we have a red group and a blue group. Sorry guys. Alright. Blue group is in the jump spell radius, so they still have the effect. They can hop over the wall, get to the archer tower, even if it doesn't extend all the way through. The red group, though, they actually can't use the jump spell, because when they go over for this archer queen, they're outside the jump spell radius. And because the jump spell doesn't extend over that wall, their AI doesn't know, hey, when I go in that jump spell, I have the jump ability. All they know is that the jump spell doesn't extend all the way. So the red group will beat on the wall here, while the blue group will use the spell. And it's kind of weird how that works, but if you know there's a big compartment, like a big wide compartment, make sure the jump spell extends over the second wall, because if your troops go to the side like that, where the red group was, they don't know that the spell extends back through, unless they're within the jump spell radius the whole time. Kind of complicated, I hope that makes sense. Ask questions in the comments below if you have questions and you want clarification on that. Okay, next little compartment here. Think to yourself, you have troops right here on this air trap. Can they get to this wizard tower if you use a jump to go from there into here? Can you drop a jump spell that will let your troops from this compartment across this wall into this compartment? Ask yourself that real quick. Okay, and the answer you should have gotten is no, actually. This, if you draw a straight line across, is technically 4 spaces away, but it's off to the side, and that adds extra distance that has to be covered. It makes it pretty much a 5 compartment jump. I actually probably should have made a wall right like that, because I guess you could drop your jump there theoretically, but if you wanted to actually drop it onto that wizard tower and get them into a compartment in this area right here, you would not be able to jump spell it, because you'd have to get your jump spell to allow troops to jump into it in that corner, and it just wouldn't quite be able to extend into it, and you probably wouldn't be able to even get your troops with the jump ability able to jump over the wall. So you can get lucky sometimes if, let's say, there's a queen back here. If there's a queen back here, troops might just, bolt through and still have that jump ability by the time they hit the wall, but it's unlikely. So typically, you don't want to try to do a 4-tile jump between walls unless it's straight through. If there's any kind of like side-to-side action, don't try the 4-tile jump. Last thing we're going to look at is one more thing to ask yourself. If you have troops right here, can you jump spell your troops so that they can enter a compartment here? Assume the walls extend out like that, so that they can enter compartments in this area, this area, this area, this area, all these adjacent areas, assuming the walls extend out like a grid. Can you jump your troops into each of these adjacent sections? I want you guys to ask yourself that. The answer to this would be yes, you can. You don't want to drop your jump spell right here, however, but that's right in the middle. You want to err a little on your side of your troops, so drop it right on the top edge of the square, like that, so it'll extend like that, and around like that. And that way your troops will have the full ability. However, let's say they enter this compartment here, or this here, the jump spell might not quite extend back, so if they wanted to use it to get into a new compartment, they may not be able to go in and out like that. So just be aware of that. When it's a tight jump spell, it might be one way, so be aware and drop it accordingly. One thing you could do if you wanted to avoid that is, let's say you only want your troops on these compartments over here, you can drop your jump spell right here so it goes like that, and that way these compartments are better connected and there's a better chance of it being a two-way jump. So if they want to go here, they can go back through in here. That's possible. So hope all these made sense. Feel free to ask me questions. Just to clarify for the questions, we'll call this scenario 1, this 2, 3, 4, and 5 for any questions in the comment section. That's how I can refer to it. Makes it easier to communicate with you guys. So hope that made sense though. Hope you liked the video. Pretty technical this time, but gotta get this out there. Pretty important information. And I'll see you guys